isn't my only dream. Break from the scheme. Waking up at dawn, all my fears are gone. All stop today, never, never, not today. Step by step I go, faster than the flow. Broke through every chain, I will not be contained.
Good evening, man. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Hey, Levy, how you doing, brother? Yes, much thanks to Levy for turning me on to this particular story, because I had no idea this was going on. Thank you very much, brother. I really do appreciate it. And kudos to you and your lovely wife. I hope that you're both doing well tonight. Yeah, so this is, yeah, and of course, yes, this is not, we're not streaming about the Hales tonight because, well, if you watch Megan and Tug, if you saw what Jeremy was talking about tonight, you'll see that they're going after a lot of information on the federal case. And if you can help them out, send them that information. If you've got information that can show all those timestamps, just go watch his stream and he explains everything that they're looking for. And also the Megan and Tug. It's important. Check my messages. Oh, a new one, huh? I will definitely check that, Max Labs. Give me just a little bit of just give me a minute. Kissing salamanders again. Yes, I'm kissing salamanders again. They're so sexy. But there was also a new filing where the judge basically said that Randy has not been added to this case, so he denied the motion that Shockett put forward. So there's that. I'll go over that whenever we have a little bit more information of exactly what all is going on. My mic is low tonight. Let me see if I can get that fixed right now. Give me just a second. Bring that bad boy up. And how does that sound? A little better? I'm hoping that sounds better. Thanks, Max. I appreciate you. And I'll check and see exactly what the message is that I have tonight. Give me just a second. And let me look. If it's really important, I will definitely cover it tomorrow. Yes, I did see that. Thank you very much. So that's what I was talking about. Thank you very much, Max Labs. I appreciate you. Yes, it is very important. Like I said, tomorrow there will be a whole lot of stuff going on with the Hales, and whenever I have more information, I'll share it. But until I have that information, it's all a little bit up in the air for me. That's what I'm saying. Whenever people think that I have some sort of inside addition to all of this stuff, I really don't. I see just about as much as you do. I just talk about it. Good to see you. Definitely, Max. I appreciate you. Brother. Oh my. So we've got some more of the Steven Crowder deposition. It is crazy stuff. If you haven't seen the first one, I do have a special playlist for it. You can watch the first part of this. This will be the second part of the deposition. And it doesn't end there, because there were more people that were involved in this case. And I'll be going over those whenever I have time. Live from Atlanta, the real mouth of the South. Shizzy Wisnut. Thank you, Wes. I appreciate you. That's hilarious. I love it. Charge your smartphone and tablets and pop some popcorn. That's right. Give some love. Well, hopefully we can get through the rest of this tonight. We're about halfway through this particular deposition. That also leaves us open to see the other people that were reporting on this story. Very, very, very much a show of things that you should or should not do. And I want to make sure you guys can see this. I'll give a couple seconds. Give a 1 in the chat if you see it, because Megan said she was having problems with hers where it wasn't sharing. So just let me know that you can actually see this darn thing. Oh boy, crazy stuff. Sorry, don't need the popcorn. Just had a big bowl of homemade chili mac. Ooh, that sounds good. I made some, I took some, made some brisket nachos today. Excellent. Thanks, Libby. I appreciate you. That lets me know that you guys can see it. And we're gonna kick right into this thing, because this is about another hour or so, and I'll probably be stopping it throughout. So let's get into this and see what Stephen has to say about their misbehavior that got their asses sued.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: if you had,
that's where we got the footage. I don't know where we got the footage of the officer who, shot the shooter.
Sure. Okay.
But again, I don't remember.
Assume for me that you had taken the efforts to find out about the details of the shooter, right? That he was Mauricio Garcia, 33 years of age, Dallas, Texas, no criminal history. If you had known that information, you would have known the image that you were looking at, this mugshot, was not the shooter, right?
No.
All right, well, let me try to walk you through the logic of this. I'm going to go ahead and assume for me that you knew, right? And I don't know if you did. I don't know if you did or you did not look at this or whatever. I'm not making that assumption. But if you did know the shooter had no criminal history and you knew he wasn't arrested for the shooting, you knew that mugshot wasn't a picture of the shooter, right? That if you had known that information, you would have reached that conclusion.
No.
Can you explain to me how a person with no criminal history and no arrest for the shooting, how they would have a mugshot?
You were the one who said we are under the assumption that it's a mugshot. I know that at that moment, Mauricio, I just want to make sure I'm understanding Mauricio, because obviously it's a little complicated. You just mentioned Mauricio Garcia, 33 years old, right? Dallas, Texas area, Hispanic. That information is accurate to my understanding.
Yes, all that's accurate.
Okay. And the image was not.
Right. The image is Mauricio Garcia, 36 years old in Dallas. Right. I understand that.
Okay.
What I'm asking you is something a little different. Is that if you knew, if the information you were being reported is, hey, this mugshot is the shooter, but if you had known he had no criminal history and wasn't arrested for the shooting, you should have concluded based on that information that that's not the shooter. Is that fair?
No, I disagree.
Okay. Again, can you try to explain to me how somebody who has no criminal history and was not arrested for the shooting, how they would have a booking photograph?
I was reporting.
Well, that's the thing. How do you know it's a booking photograph? You just have a photograph. Nobody said it's a mugshot.
On the reported information that include the other information, which we both just agreed was accurate, and an image. I don't remember the rest of the details.
I'm not asking any of that, though. Right?
Did.
I'm asking a very simple question. Is if you had known, in fact, let's go ahead and take this completely away from the Alley shooting and treat this as a hypothetical. All right. You have an individual you're trying to identify and match with a picture.
Okay.
All right. And you have two pieces of information. On one, you have somebody reporting, hey, this mugshot is the shooter. And then the other piece of information you have is that person has no criminal history and that person was not arrested for the event. If you know those two pieces of information, you should know that the first piece of information, that mugshot, is not the shooter, right?
It's a hypothetical question. I don't know that the researchers at that moment in time knew that. I don't know that that was included in the original reporting. And it's why we made sure to list the original reporting and report it on their reporting. I don't know that information was.
That's solid.
I'm sitting here, I'm telling you right now, I don't think you or your people did know that. I don't think so.
There you go. So why are you bitching?
Whether I think you should have known that. But what I'm asking is, if you did know it, if you did know the shooter had no
completely
criminal
different.
history, and you did know that the shooter was not arrested,
But you would have to know.
then you would have known that a mugshot was not the shooter, or at least would have raised serious doubts about whether that was the correct image.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree.
If one did know that there was no criminal history, if one knew that there had never been any type of image taken in a police precinct or legal type situation or context, if one knew that definitively, and then knew that that was definitively a mugshot, then that would be a reasonable assumption, I believe, if I've met those prerequisites that you've said.
And now assume for me that you didn't know for sure, but you had conflicting reports. You had one report saying it was a mugshot. You had another report saying there was no criminal history and no arrest. Without knowing which one is true, you would agree that that would create a situation in which that would produce significant doubt about what.
But I would have to know both of those things.
Objection form.
Right?
I don't know.
All right.
Hey, Mark, when you get to a stopping point, can we take a break since it's been about an hour?
Yeah, absolutely.
The person asking the questions is the one, are the attorneys that are suing. These are the for the person that was defamed in this situation. That's who's asking the questions. I do have a link to their information. I do believe on the link in the chat, it's there, or the link on the stream, it is there, and they're the ones that were deposing Stephen in this, and I'm sure at some point you'll have his attorney respond to those questions, but I haven't seen that far yet.
That's not a bad idea. Let's do that. And tell you what, you want to like take a 20-minute, maybe something like that? Is that okay?
20 minutes? Do you want less than that? What do you want?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, back at 2:50.
Yep, that sounds good to me.
That'll work.
Off the record at 2:29 p.m.
And he's back.
The
Damn.
time is 2:53 p.m. and we're back on the record.
I want to ask you about something you said during the show. You had kind of started your segment there about the shooter's identity by saying
No problem,
who the
Linus.
shooter was. A lot of what the media is telling you is bullshit. You remember saying that?
Yeah, you
Okay.
showed it to me.
What was bullshit about it?
Well,
Well,
they
if I
weren't giving
recall,
you
in the context of
information.
that, and we ran clips or segments to this effect, was the white supremacist mass shooter, and then, of course, the aggressive push for gun control.
Yes.
The media had initially just covered it as a white supremacist mass shooter, and then didn't go back to it,
Yes.
which was
You
a
mean
pattern.
what do you mean didn't go back to it? What does that mean?
Didn't go back to the story that they said they would be reporting on
Yeah,
once
they
new
didn't follow
information
up.
had come out, and instead pivoted to, the gun control measures. And I believe that we were pointing out at that point that the black officer used what would be described as an assault weapon.
So are you saying that they abandoned the idea that the shooter was a white supremacist?
I'm saying that the coverage was significantly less afterward.
After what?
After the name and information on the shooter was available.
Well, the name was available well before you did your broadcast, right?
Sure.
Like the media, in other words, when the media was calling this person a white supremacist, this narrative that they allegedly abandoned, it was known that the shooter was a Hispanic man.
Well, I didn't say they allegedly abandoned that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting really confused by some of your answers today, and I apologize.
Well, I'm
for
getting
that.
confused by your
Because what I
questions.
believe that I had heard is that they shifted the story away from this white supremacy stuff once new information came out.
No, they shifted away from the wall-to-wall coverage altogether.
Yeah.
Wall-to-wall coverage of the shooting, or the coverage that he was a white supremacist?
Of the event altogether, yes.
Yeah. Of the
Okay, so you
entire
said
event.
Initial coverage was white supremacist mass shooting.
Uh-huh.
And then when the story was Hispanic male mass shooter taken out by black officer with, I believe, an AR-15 or something equivalent, the story was not covered with the same zeal. And I believe that's the point that we were addressing.
Mm.
Contextual.
I'm not understanding though, from the day of the shooting.
Well, that would go to make sense that you don't understand, because what he's saying, hit that like, good to see you, Zach. No, here's what he's saying is they covered it up to the point that they found out that it was a Hispanic shooter and that it was a black officer that shot him with an AR-15. And then they moved on to whatever the next rabbit or squirrel was that they were chasing. That's all he's saying. He's saying they shifted away from the story because they wanted to talk about something else. They were just like, oh well, this doesn't fit our narrative. They shifted the story to be talking about handgun control or gun control, about basically taking away your rights to carry arms. Squirrels? Where? What? Huh? Did you see a squirrel? I hope it wasn't back there. Been very busy this weekend, just saying.
Well, or at least the day after, at least since May 7th. We all knew it was a Hispanic mass shooter, right?
I believe you're correct the day after, yes.
And so when the media was pushing this story about that law enforcement sources were saying that he was a white supremacist, they did that knowing he was Hispanic.
Not initially.
That's true.
I don't understand, Mr. Crowder. We knew his name was. We knew his name was.
Hold on, let him talk.
We knew on May 7th, before your reporting, a full day before your reporting, the whole world knew that this was Mauricio Garcia, a Hispanic mass shooter, right?
That's what we reported that day. Yes, I believe I'm going on. I believe your memory is correct. It was the day after the shooting that information came out, right? Yes.
Right. And then the day after that is when you did your reporting.
Yeah.
Right.
So we already knew he was Hispanic. That didn't change. Nothing changed in terms of his
But
identity.
you were calling
I
him
did because
white.
I believe
you were
the
calling him
information
white
became available.
supremacist.
After I believe what you just showed me was a Monday.
I'll take your word for it.
I think that was the clip that you had just shown. So if it would have been available during the weekend, but not when the shooting had just taken place. So initially it was simply white supremacist mass shooting. And that was covered with great enthusiasm. And then the day after, as I believe your recollection is correct, Hispanic male, it wasn't covered with the same extensive coverage.
Yes,
And that was
he's correct.
Let's walk through the chronology. All right, we have the shooting on May 6th.
Right.
And on May 6th, we don't know anything about the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
There's no information on who the shooter was, his identity, his motivations, anything. You agree with that?
No.
I don't know that that's correct, and I don't know that the media was covering it that way. I believe they were covering it as a white supremacist immediately.
All right. I think if you go back and you look at these events, what you're going to find happen is that the New York Times published from law enforcement sources saying that Mauricio Garcia had social media that had neo-Nazi ideation, he had tattoos, and that they were looking at a social media site, right? That's where all this comes from, right? Is this New York Times report. And on that day, as that's being reported, it's being reported that the guy's name is Mauricio Garcia. So what I'm trying to understand is what new information came to light that you say made the media change the narrative of its story?
I would imagine that it's a Hispanic male being labeled a white supremacist, and that was why they didn't cover it nearly as extensively.
Let me just make sure I have you correct.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the media was saying, that mainstream media outlets were saying that the shooter was a white supremacist shooter?
Yes,
And
that's what they said.
that without saying that he was Hispanic or given his name?
Yes.
I believe that they were reporting, my recollection is reporting that he was a white supremacist. And as it was circulating, this was a Hispanic male. The story was not being covered with the same zeal. Yeah.
No, again, I'm going back to the idea of, do you believe that?
No, they had this information. They didn't share this information. They were running with a narrative of saying that he was a white supremacist, and then once they found out that it was a Hispanic male, it sort of shot down that narrative. You also have to remember this is not too long ago that this happened, and how is everybody responding to the whitey? Yeah, it's stupid and ridiculous. Yeah, y'all support Shizzy, and his jock straps have holes in. I hope they do. Like, I really do. I need the breathing room. Thank you, Zach. I'm going to get you one of them wonderful stickers. You have earned a rock star place on the helmet of stars right there. I'm putting you right across just so you can fill the hole. See, slightly, just a little bit of that green envy flowing through the Zachmobile. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Just Dawn. Good to see you, lovely lady. Just Dawn.
There were reports identifying the shooter as white supremacist that also
Hey,
did
Debbie.
not include his name and a clue to his ethnic identity.
There could have been.
Ethnic identity.
I don't recall exactly. I'm going by your timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But I do remember at that point in time, it was
Hey, good
labeled the
girl.
greatest domestic terror threat, white supremacy. And that was something in the media quite a bit. It was
Absolutely.
always something being covered.
Completely. I agree. You don't have any reason to dispute with me that the shooter's name was known on May 7th.
I don't have any reason to dispute.
Okay.
Mhm.
You said that my client has a very Hispanic looking face. What does that mean?
It means exactly what I said.
Can you explain it to me? I'm confused as to what that means.
You're confused as to what a Hispanic person looks like?
Yeah, is there anybody Hispanic on the Zoom call right now?
I love it.
Objection form.
As you're confused with what it is.
Well, I see a lot of boxes.
Well, you got some pictures in front of you. You got gallery view. Is there any Hispanics on the call right now?
Objection form.
I wouldn't, not one that would jump out to me as a very clearly Hispanic male face.
All right, so help me understand what that is, because there is a Hispanic on this call.
Okay.
What is a very Hispanic looking face?
Objection form.
In the context of white supremacist, people generally think of white people, and this was clearly a Hispanic male.
Are you saying that Hispanic people are not white? That's what you're saying.
I'm saying they aren't typically white supremacists.
Where'd you get that idea? You believe that Hispanic people aren't white. There are no white supremacist Hispanic people.
I didn't say no, I said typically.
Right.
Exactly. Big difference.
That means that that does exist. If you say, yeah, typically, that comes with a but, doesn't it? But there are Hispanic white supremacists.
What I'm getting at.
Right?
If you say there are some.
I'm asking you. Did you know that?
I would imagine that people who are not particularly white don't make great white supremacists.
That's an interesting question. So let's.
Wasn't a question.
First of all, it actually raises a very interesting
There he is.
question. You know what a Chicano is?
I know the term Chicano, yes.
Okay. And I'm using that to mean an
Oh, I've got to give a shout out here. This lovely young lady. Hey there, lovely Shizzy. Miss you guys and gals. We miss you too so much. I hope you're on the mend. You're feeling much better. Thank you so much, Welsh lady. I am going to give you a nice special star right over the side of my nice large helmet. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Welsh lady. Hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. It's so good to see you. So good to see you. Ah, yes.
ethnic identity for Mexican Americans who have a non-Anglo self-image. Right? You've heard that term before, Chicano?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? It was
Yeah, that I'm using it to mean an ethnic identity for Mexican Americans who have a non-Anglo self-image.
Sure.
You've heard Chicano used that way, right?
I've heard the term Chicano, yes.
Not every Hispanic is a Chicano. You'd agree with that?
Of course.
And there are Hispanics you understood as of last year you understood there are Hispanics who do have an Anglo self-image.
Sure. If you're
You
telling
may
me,
not. What I'm saying is, you may not see them as white, but there are Hispanics who definitely see themselves as white.
Okay.
Objection form.
you mean like from Spain, perhaps? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying there's
From
Mexicans.
Brazil.
No, I'm saying Mexican Americans. There are Mexican Americans who identify as white.
Objection form.
Cultural misappropriation.
Did you understand that?
Well, I understand that.
Okay. And so let me put it this way. You understood when covering the shooting that the quote unquote whiteness of Hispanic people
Whiteness?
has been heavily culturally litigated over the past 60 years and up to the present day.
No.
That's something you understood.
No.
Objection form.
I don't understand the question.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm trying
What
to
the
say,
white, Hispanic
under-
whiteness has been litigated since in the last 60 years? I just want to understand.
yeah,
Well, and I just want to say that my half brother is half Hispanic. Okay, I have a brother from the same mother but a different father that's half Hispanic, and he didn't know that he was half Hispanic until he did one of those like 23andMe's or something like that, and actually found his biological father that just happens to have like multiple like grandchildren now. So Mexican whiteness. I don't, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's been litigated. What is he talking about? Whiteness, Mexican whiteness been litigated. There's also men that is, identify as dogs. What's your point exactly? I'm just having a hard time understanding. Well, I understand what the lawyer is trying to do, but you can see that Crowder is just having a field day because you're asking the stupidest questions in all of this. It's not a good question. He's a wicked Wookie. Hey, wicked Wookie, good to see you. Good to see you. Oh my God, so crazy.
culturally litigated. In other words, that they're, well, let me put it this way. I take it, you like in your life, you've known some Hispanic people, and some of them might have names like Robert, and some of them might have names like Roberto. You understand what I mean?
Very
What?
well.
Right.
Sure.
And you understand what I mean by assimilationism, that there is a part of Hispanic culture that has attempted to be assimilationist, right, and adopt into white American culture. You know that exists.
Why
I
not
understand
Black
that it
American
exists
culture?
with
And
certain stuff.
you understand that there is also another.
Why does it have to be white American culture? Why couldn't they just assimilate into American culture? Because there's not just black and white and Hispanic and Asian. Just maybe he's assimilating into American culture. Did you ever think of that? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Other separate part of Hispanic culture, which is non-assimilationist, which
Oh.
rejects an Anglo self-identity, right?
What? Anglo?
Sure.
And
Damn
you
those
understand
Anglos.
that
Always pissing
some
me off.
people who are Hispanic identify as white, whereas other people in our culture do not consider them white. You understand that?
What?
Are you saying that some people identify as white and other people don't identify? Yes.
Consider
Yes,
them white.
that's, yes,
I
I
mean-
understand. Well, I understand white supremacy very well, that they would not include any of the aforementioned groups amongst them.
Right.
They would not allow it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why it's a repugnant ideology.
Right. So what I'm saying is, you already knew when broadcasting the show that not only do some Hispanics identify as white.
What?
Let's go back. When I talk about like cultural litigation,
It
For
sounds like
instance-
sounds to me like he's trying cultural misappropriation because, well, either you're an American or you've got some hyphenated Mexican, African, or Asian, like hyphenated names. If you're American, being American, it's not hard. What do you want to be? Do you want to be an American? Then you sort of assimilate into the culture of America. A lot of times it might be the region that you might be in. You could be in California. You could be in Michigan. You could be in Wisconsin, Texas. It doesn't matter what area, it really does matter what area you're in, the way that you assimilate with a lot of that culture. So that way you're not left just like as some outcast like I am, because I don't assimilate very well. I am not the Borg you're looking for.
The real shooter. Let's talk about the real 33-year-old Mauricio Garcia who committed this crime. All right?
Yeah. What about him?
That person very well might consider themselves white.
No.
Considered before their death. But you didn't consider them white, correct?
Objection form.
Would I consider a Hispanic looking male white? No, I would consider them a Hispanic male.
Do you know what the real shooter looks like?
What the real shooter looks like?
Mm-hmm.
It is my understanding that he's a Hispanic male.
Well, I'm asking you, does he have a very Hispanic looking face?
Huh?
Objection form.
To the best of my recollection, he looks Hispanic, yes.
Okay. You understood when doing your broadcast that not only do some Hispanics identify as whites, some identify as neo-Nazis and white supremacists. You knew that.
Yeah, I
right?
know, it's very confusing. What?
No.
You
Huh?
didn't know that. That was new information to you.
I believe if you watch the show, it was comical information.
Yes.
You found it funny that a Hispanic person, in an attempt to litigate their own whiteness, might associate with white supremacy
Whiteness.
and white supremacist ideas.
Whiteness.
You thought that was funny.
I find it comical that someone who would not be accepted amongst racist white supremacists in any way, shape, or form would identify with them.
Yeah, it's like that old skit that you would see, and oh God, what was it? And I'm trying to get this one right. It might have been Brother, Where Art Thou? Where they show up and they're just like, you got a black guy wearing a hood, and it's just like it's comedy. You find it very humorous. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit where, you know, you've got Eddie Murphy showing up wearing like the robes of like one of these groups, and he's just Blazing Saddles. Exactly. It's like Queers for Palestine. Thank you very much, Zach. That is a good one too. Blazing Saddles, but yes, where is? Oh yes, where he's like, I'm the new sheriff. Yes, Clayton Bigsby, Dave Chappelle. How many times do you? I mean, it's you guys are sitting there throwing it up in the chat. All the different occasions you've seen these kinds of things, and it is like, you've got to be kidding me, right? This is like the most level of parody. It's like a guy showing up that is 6'5", he's bulked out and identifies as a female. You're just like, okay. I mean, I met a drag queen in Hollywood. Now this is hilarious as hell, because me and the guitar player for the band that I was playing in were walking down, heading towards Guitar Center. And this guy walks out, and I swear to God, he's like 6'7", looks like a linebacker, and wearing a mini skirt and heels. And it was like had changed the voice, but not enough, where it was just like, hey boys. And my guitar player starts singing Brick House. And it totally made this drag queen's day. And he was just dancing along, having a good time. And we all knew, no, close enough though. Close enough there. And it was hilarious to watch that these people are like sitting there going, oh, you know, here you got this large black man that's dressed up like a drag queen, and they can be panicking, and we're just having a good time. Walk by, give a high five, we move on with our day, they move on with theirs. there is no cultural misappropriation. Stop it. Just enjoy being who in the hell you want to be. Stop being assholes to one another.
You really in touch with how racist white supremacists might
she's a
view
brick.
certain people? Is that something you know a lot about?
Objection form.
How you doing, Val? Good to see you, brother.
Are you asking me personally? Or you asking me
yeah. Like, I don't know, how do you,
supremacy?
look, I know there are Hispanic white supremacists. That's a thing that exists, right? I know that. I know there are neo-Nazi white supremacists who have Hispanic backgrounds, right? And I think what you're saying is that that's actually not possible because no white supremacist would ever associate.
Objection form.
So I guess what I'm getting at is,
really? Is that true?
Correct. As a general rule, white supremacists tend to be quite racist.
Yeah, I'm like, this is like mind-boggling to me because I'm just sitting there going, I'm just picturing Blazing Saddles all in my head all over again. I just don't get it. You know, yeah, the lawyer tends to know about quite a bit about white supremacy. What I need, you know what I need to do? I need to send an invite out to Valhalla because maybe he can inform me on this, because maybe he's running into some Hispanic white supremacists. I've never run into any. Oh, maybe Libby, do you know any Hispanic white supremacists? It's killing me here. It's killing me, Smalls. Killing me. Let me see what we got here. Let's see if I'll find Val right here. But maybe he can explain this to me because this is killing me. Let's see if I can find Levy here. I know I got Levy here somewhere. Where the hell are you? I know that you're there. You're hiding from me, brother. Hide deep within my stuff here. There he is. Oh my gosh. Yeah, maybe somebody Levy's like, oh nope. I knew a black guy that really hated black people. He was a singer in a country band. I don't know. I just don't hate anybody. This is why it blows me away. I'm like, what are they talking about? There's actually like black white supremacists. That's weird.
right, I get that. And Hispanic white supremacists also tend to be quite racist, don't they?
Objection form.
I know that Hispanic people can be racist as anyone can be racist.
Yes.
I'm asking you specifically, though, about Hispanic white supremacists. Can be very, very racist, right?
Well, it says right in there, if they're Hispanic white supremacists, then that would be racist, right? If they're black white supremacists, that would be racist. I don't understand the question. That's just like saying, well, somebody that's racist, are they racist? Yes, that would be the answer. That's the definition of racism. I honestly really think about race except to make jokes about it. Shame on you, Zach. Oh, horrible. God.
Objection form.
I would imagine if a Hispanic person identifies as a white supremacist, that they would be quite racist.
There you
I
go.
think we can agree there.
Okay. So what's
No,
that?
I think as we've
What's that have to
established,
do with anything?
not every Hispanic is visibly clockable as being Hispanic. Would you agree with that?
What?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And Hispanic being a big, you understand that there are a lot of different backgrounds that a person could have that would make them Hispanic.
Absolutely. Or Latino.
For instance, Ted Cruz, he's Hispanic,
What?
but he's also
No.
Canadian like you, right?
Well, I'm American, but
Oh, I thought you were Canadian.
No.
I was raised in Canada, but I was born in Michigan.
Anchor baby, right?
No, my dad's American.
Oh, are they too?
Yeah,
Okay.
my dad's American.
My dad's American, dumbass. Very racist of you to say that, though, isn't it? Wow. Did you ever think that you would find an attorney asking about racism being racist? Oh, you're Canadian, aren't you? No, I'm American. So is my dad. My mother's Canadian. I was raised in Canada, but I was born in America. Jeez. Idiot. And you can see that Stephen is loving this right now because he was just like, you just said the most racist shit, and you don't even realize it.
And my grandparents are American.
Oh, so you were just a temporary expat then, basically.
My mom's French Canadian, and we lived there for a while, so you
Gotcha.
automatically get a citizenship when your mother is French Canadian in Quebec. But I don't know that anchor baby would be appropriate.
That'd be
No,
pretty
yeah, it sounds
racist.
more like you just maybe have a dual background there. You got on both sides of the border.
Sure.
The
Northern side. Yeah. Oh, we're talking about Hispanic. They exist in Canada too.
That's true. That's true. So I think one of the things we can get to is that it's impossible to paint the entire Hispanic community with a broad brush in terms of you can look at them and identify them as Hispanic, right?
What?
Correct, which is why I issued the qualifier of a very Hispanic looking person.
Right. So when you saw my
Hispanic
client's
looking.
photo and his very Hispanic looking face, you thought you could use that on your show to show that the media was lying, right?
Yes. Because
The
they
idea,
do lie.
again, there's lying and there's a narrative. There's a difference that white supremacists, people obviously, whether you can litigate it here or culturally litigate it, people have an image in mind and when they think of white supremacist, and it's generally not Hispanic looking people.
It's generally not Chicanos, right?
What?
Objection form.
I said it's generally not Hispanic looking people to the American
Right.
public.
And but I think what we're getting at, like, look, you look at a picture of my client, right?
No, they're seeing, you know, some guy that has blonde hair, blue eyes. Is like their ideal of somebody that is some white supremacist. That's what they're looking at. And that's how it's been for quite some time, where people just look at some person that just happens to have a certain skin color and they say, oh, they must be white supremacists. Doesn't mean that they are, just that's their assumption just immediately. Just like, you know, you look at are people looking at someone that just happens to be black and think that they're a gangbanger, or someone that's Hispanic and think that they're Chicano? Or I don't understand his question. It's quite confusing.
And he's got the Gothic script tattoo of his girlfriend on his neck. He's got the lowrider haircut, the Edgar haircut.
Edgar?
Right? You can look at my client.
How
and
would you
can
know what Edgar haircut is?
This is a guy who identifies with his Mexican roots. You think that's pretty clear from looking at him?
Objection form.
If I were asked if he looked Hispanic, I would answer yes.
Right. And in fact, he doesn't really look like the kind of Hispanic who would be a white supremacist, does he?
Objection form.
What does that mean?
Well, any Hispanic, again, is difficult to reconcile in the United States as a white supremacist, given how white supremacists view Hispanics.
Again, maybe for you, right? But we know there are neo-Nazi Hispanics. We know that there are white supremacist Hispanics, but they don't tend to look like my client, do they?
Yeah.
Objection form.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Zimmerman, who looks very Hispanic from his Mexican mom, wasn't given any such benefits. That is a very good point, because Zimmerman, which looked very Hispanic, everyone was calling him a white supremacist right off the bat, because he was trying to get somebody that had jumped him off of him. So very, very good point. Chat, other people. What? How you doing, Boosh? Good to see you, Boosh McFadden.
But as far as about, you remember we looked at earlier, we saw about how the idea here was you had information on this shooting and you were going to show the lies of the mainstream media.
Yes.
But when it comes to the identity of the shooter, you were incorrect about that. The media wasn't lying, right?
No, they were not informing.
All the other information was correct, as you listed, as far as the age, the name, person, and yeah, the image was incorrectly sourced from other reporters before us, which is why
I'm not talking about what you did. I'm talking about when it comes to the shooter's identity. The media didn't lie. The mainstream media outlets that you identified, they didn't lie.
Well,
Objection form.
No,
Right?
they just
I
withheld.
I believe they were misleading. Yeah,
In what way were they misleading?
in saying white supremacist and then abandoning the story once they realized that the person was Hispanic. Even if you may say so, but the media decided that it wasn't a story they wanted to cover as much.
Yep.
All right.
Because the media likely has an idea of what a white supremacist looks like, I would imagine.
Right. Well, I want to. Right. And he didn't look like my client, did he?
Objection form.
White supremacist wouldn't look like someone who looks Hispanic.
Right. And I'm talking about the actual shooter. And I know that you're hesitant to call him a neo-Nazi shooter, but I'm going to call a chair a chair. He's a neo-Nazi shooter, right? And that neo-Nazi, he doesn't look like my client.
Objection form.
Mauricio Garcia, the neo-Nazi shooter?
Right. Doesn't look like my client.
I don't recall how much they look alike.
Okay.
Again, it's a little confusing because there's two Mauricio Garcias.
All right. The media was accurate that the shooter was Mauricio Garcia. The mainstream media outlets that you cited, they were accurate about that, right?
Yes.
They were accurate that he was 33 years old.
Okay, so there was a shooting in Allen, Texas, and Crowder, along with several other people, misreported that this attorney that is talking to Crowder right now. So the attorney that's asking Crowder these questions, his client has the same name as the shooter. Okay. They used that his client, not Crowder's client, but the attorney that's asking the questions, used his image stating, does this look like a white supremacist shooter? Which was the narrative that was being run on all of mainstream media for the shooting in Allen, Texas. The problem is that backlash caused a lot of problems for them showing that image of somebody associating him with committing this atrocity. Once they found out that it was not the right person, I'm assuming, retracted all of that, but they still ended up with a lawsuit from this person that was a criminal, looks clearly Hispanic, clearly not the same person. So they had a major lawsuit. Don't know how major it was because they settled this out of court. So this is done and over with. This has already happened. It's done and over with. They settled out of court because they were wanting to be the first to jump on a story about this. So that's sort of what happened with this. That's why he's being deposed, is because they're trying to get money. They did settle this out of court. This never saw the light of day, basically. So I hope that does clear it up. But if you do have any more questions that I can answer, I will definitely try. But it's just, it's funny watching this deposition.
So
That's my understanding.
they were accurate that he had multiple neo-Nazi tattoos on his.
It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter. From what I gather, the kind of backlash that he received is people were calling up, harassing him, his mother, and of course, he's just like, well, that wasn't me, and clearly I'm still alive. But of course, the news. You have to understand, this is more than just about that. They're trying to get as much money as they can. So that's when it boils down to it, they're just trying to get a whole bunch of money. That's really all that matters. You get enough news stations to report on it. No different than Sandman. Whenever they went after him, saying that he was some sort of white supremacist, Trump supporter, hates people, then you got a guy beating a drum in front of his face. And then once you get the whole story that he wasn't even instigating it, that it was, I'm trying to think what was it? It's like the 13th tribe or something like that of Israel, like the black Jewish or something like that were like screaming at him about it. And then of course some random like guy beating a drum gets up in his face and he's yelling at him. And at mainstream media misreported the story because they only had a small sliver of the information. This is why you don't always want to be the first to get on a story to report some breaking news. That's why it might be a little bit slower on certain things, because you want to get it all out. Litigious parasites, this was an honest mistake. Yes. But that same honest mistake also happened to Sandman. So keep that in mind. The same kind of thing happened to Sandman that had NBC, CNN, CBS, Fox News. Everybody was jumping up saying this guy was clearly being, was an instigator. Whenever they went back and watched the whole video, it was clear that he wasn't the instigator, and he sued them for defamation. So it's no different there. Why does Stephen Crowder have Brokeback Mountain paintings in his background? that actually is not, and that is probably just it looks like a group of guys. I don't know why they're riding horses. I guess they're just on a horseback riding trip. But I mean, if he wants to have Brokeback Mountain pictures, that's totally his prerogative. It's up to him, who he wants to choose as a lover.
His body.
That's my understanding.
They were right that he had a vest that was for right-wing death squad. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall that, but if you say so.
They were correct that he had a social media presence where he expressed neo-Nazi views.
If you say so.
I don't recall that, but if you say so.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what they might have said about the shooter's identity, if anything, that was bullshit.
Yeah, well, the presentation, as you said, the shooting happened, I believe, on the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And the 7th.
Right.
That's when the information came out. It's my understanding that the media was running with the narrative of white supremacists before the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly running with the narrative that white supremacy is the greatest domestic terror threat in the United States. And certainly pushing the narrative of gun control. And so the bullshit there is because a black officer, who, if my recollection is correct, was either off duty or responding to a call at chance, shot the man with his own firearm that the same media said would need to be controlled to prevent mass shootings. That has nothing to do with who the shooter was. You asked what the media was presenting that I believed was
there you go.
Bullshit.
Now, actually, what I asked you was, when it comes to the reporting on the shooter's identity, when you said who the shooter was, a lot of what the media is telling you is bullshit. What were they telling you that was bullshit about who the shooter was?
Again,
awesome slut.
You showed a brief clip. I believe the entire show was devoted to the narrative clips from the media and what they were presenting and why.
Well, and also, so you guys know that you can just this is for future reference. You can raid on the Rumble side also. You do have to turn it on, which I think I've turned it on, but you can raid from that side also. So it's pretty cool. Thank you very much, Emma. Welcome. That's what you asked. The media told you. Exactly. It's not what you asked, what the media told you.
That was misleading. As far as the shooter on the 7th, if the articles that you bring up are accurate, then it seems they got the name and age correct.
I mean, they got everything correct, right? What didn't they get correct?
Again, they were misleading in the other information surrounding it.
There you go.
About who the shooter was?
No, we're not telling you. You asked me what I believe was bullshit from the media.
Again, I'm going to tell you again what I'm asking you. is when
Doesn't
you
matter
said
what you're
who the
asking me. I'm
shooter
telling you
was,
what
a
I was
lot of
talking
what
about.
the media is telling you is bullshit. When it comes to who the shooter was, there was nothing that was bullshit, was there?
I don't know about their, again, initial reporting, which would have been the 6th. And that's what people believe, right? If something is front page center news, and we know this, how the media works, front page center news, white supremacists without that information, a narrative, gun control before the body is assumed room temperature. The information comes out the next day, and that goes up in an article that people don't read to the same degree. People still believe the preconceived notions from when the media was initially reporting.
But okay, let's go ahead and assume for me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tell you this ain't real, what I'm about to tell you, right? I'm pretty up
Really?
to speed on the media coverage, but let's
Nothing
just
you
go
said
ahead and
is real
assume
anyway.
that your understanding of it is accurate. That on May 7th, the media reported that he was a white supremacist. And
Yes.
that was the only fact they reported. They didn't report that his name was Mauricio Garcia or that he was Hispanic, all right? Assume for me that happened. It didn't.
Or May 6th, yeah.
Or May 6th, right? Good. I can tell you the shooter's name was not known on May 6th. There was no information about
No, not the shooter, but the idea of a white supremacist shooter, yes.
Right, not that either, right? None of that even happened, right? But go ahead and assume for me that it did. Go ahead and assume for me that the media reported that the shooter had white supremacist leanings. That's not bullshit, right? That's 100% accurate, right?
If they had reported that he had white supremacist leanings, Mauricio Garcia on the 7th, sure.
Right. So again, about the shooter's identity, about who he was, there's nothing they said was bullshit, right?
Yeah.
I disagree.
Yeah.
As it relates to the story at large, I disagree.
Yeah.
I think a very
Again,
important.
not asking you about, I know that we've been talking about this idea that there was a gun control.
Well, and I understand what Steven's getting at. It's just like saying, well, if I say that there was white supremacists attacking my house, what does that have to do with there's a person attacking my house? Would have been the way that it would not be misleading. But if you're just immediately saying it was a white supremacist attacking my house, big difference. If you say there's someone attacking my house, I don't know who it is. So they were misleading everybody to make them believe that this was somebody that was, he asked questions like ADA Banger. That is correct. Very much correct. So there's a big difference between saying there's someone, we don't have any identity of who this person is. All that we know at this point in time is there's somebody attacking the house, but that's not how they played it out. The media played it out as being some white supremacist was causing all these shootings. And then once they started digging into it, they got hold of the name, and it's like Mars Garcia. That's not really how are you saying that this is white supremacist with this particular name? Good to see you, Cynthia. Good to see you. Oh, welcome all you wonderful Raiders coming on over here. Pretend they said this, that, they pretend. Bullshit. It isn't right. But yeah, it gets, this is the problem with what media reports. If they would just report and not try to throw any sort of narrative on top of it, then you wouldn't have these kinds of issues where you're having to go back and correct what you say. Welcome, Lady T. Welcome, Raiders. Yeah. Welcome. Or if they say, do you agree? The answer is always not necessarily. Absolutely. That is correct. You have been rated. I feel very rated. Hey, Hippie Witch, good to see you. And no, I don't have the banjo showing up tonight. Doggone it. It's not going to happen. You guys are not going to get me like you did the other night.
Narrative and that there was a cop who shot him. So therefore that invalidates gun control in some way because
Absolutely,
there was a cop with
Emma.
a gun. So, I mean, I'm not sure who's trying to regulate cops having guns or how that ties in, but I get that that's a whole separate discussion.
No,
right?
we're trying
But
to,
what
they're
I'm
trying to
saying is in
regulate
terms of
what
the
American
media's
citizens have.
identity of the shooter, the details that it reported about who the shooter was and what his background was, what his belief systems were. None of that was bullshit and never was.
Well, none of that should have
Right?
been reported. That's what he's saying. none of what his beliefs are should have been reported in the news media. What should have been reported in the news media is that there was an active shooter at a certain place doing a certain thing, instead of any sort of narrative, whether with the media is reporting too much information to not be able to get all of the information. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true.
All right. So again, trying to focus down so you can tell me, because this is my chance to get that.
Sorry, I was just thrown because he said he didn't know anyone who was trying to regulate cops with guns and it was an off-duty officer with an AR-15. I find that difficult to believe that you are not aware of that. So I thought this was taking place in good faith.
No, like, wait, so no, and I mean, I am unaware of that. Are you saying that there's some sort of legislation in the works to make it so that off-duty officers don't have access to their weapons when
No, what he's saying is there's regulation in the works to make sure that law-abiding citizens are not able to arm themselves to protect themselves. That's what he's saying. Big difference. What was the name of Wolfgang? Right. No, it wasn't.
they're off-duty or something like that?
Objection form.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm
Are you
being
not-
serious, man.
are
Yeah,
you not-
I don't know about any legislation like that.
Are you not aware of the movement for non-lethal weapons, including tasers, to be used by officers? I mean,
No,
yes,
I don't believe
very,
it's
very well known. And of course, whether you're on duty or off duty, those weapons, yeah, were being included in a list of weapons that should be a part of gun control, which was used to stop the Hispanic shooter who was presented as white supremacist. There were important components to the story. And I believe the media was being misleading about that.
extremely fascinating line of inquiry that we could get into on all of these issues that if we were in any other situation, I would love to talk to you about the
No, you
vagaries of
wouldn't.
gun control and all of that, but not terribly relevant to what I want to ask you about today. Right?
Well, then ask
So
your
what I'm
question,
really focusing in
moron.
on is the idea of the shooter's identity, the details of the shooter's identity, his belief systems, his backgrounds, everything about who he is,
Mhm.
right? I believe you told me that when I said that none of that was bullshit, you said you didn't agree with that. And I'm trying to figure out, because it's my chance to ask you questions today, is if you can tell me what the mainstream media organizations that you cited got wrong about the shooter's identity, background, and belief systems.
Objection form.
And my answer is that those are not mere vagaries when they were the primary driving narrative of the story. That's why the story was being covered. And
Yes.
that's why the other information there was correct. And there was a mistake on the image, as we've already discussed. But I don't believe that those were vagaries. Gun control, white supremacy, black officer who's a hero. I believe those are very relevant, and they were being bypassed by and large by the media. That was the reason for the story.
I agree that white supremacy is a key element to what we're talking about. I'm not sure that gun control
That's
is.
your
But we'll just
problem.
disagree. We'll agree to disagree on that. But what I'm asking you, and again, I'm just trying to get a straight answer to this to know if there is or there isn't.
Mexican
Is there
henchman.
anything that the mainstream media said about the shooter's identity, who he was, his background or belief system that was bullshit?
Objection form.
Well, you don't have to agree with Steven Crowder, but he's like very, very clear in what he's saying. And there, you don't have to like Steven Crowder, or you can like him. It doesn't matter. What this attorney is asking really bad questions. I understand what he's trying to do, and Steven, you know, to his dismay, is carrying himself very well in this meeting. No fun.
I don't recall beyond the examples that I've given you.
That's right.
And
And it is
what
my
examples of what-
my
We all
recollection
can
that
get.
it is my recollection that on May 6th, they were already labeling it another white supremacist massacre. Before
Let's
the
say
May-
they were. Let's say they were. They weren't, but let's say they were.
They were.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
not bullshit. Right?
Is it?
Disagree.
Let's get back to that issue of, I think this gets back to the idea of you're hesitant to call this person a neo-Nazi mass shooter. Right? Remember us talking about that?
I do.
All right. So it's not enough that he has neo-Nazi tattoos. It's not enough that he had a social media presence that had neo-Nazi beliefs. What would it take for you to be able to call somebody a neo-Nazi?
Objection form.
What would it take for you to call someone a neo-Nazi? I don't believe in name calling. How's that? You know, how about there was just an active shooter? They were there. Exactly. Yes, they were. They were inciting violence, you moron, and people lashed out. Exactly.
Probably someone being in an official neo-Nazi organization and typically white, as far as presenting it to the public in relation to the threat that was presented. White domestic terrorism is the term that was used. So white neo-Nazi would be relevant to domestic terrorism, which I also disagree with.
All right, so to be a neo-Nazi, you have to be white and you have to be a member of a neo-Nazi organization.
Objection
Anything
form.
else?
Objection form.
In general, that would be a good start.
That's true, even though, as we just discussed, there are Hispanic neo-Nazis.
If you say so.
In general, yes.
Let me bring up, I want to talk to you a little bit about the series of videos you did on this. Let's bring up tab 5.
Mark, just so we're renaming this 4.
Oh, that's right. This is tab 4, and we'll offer this as exhibit 4. Now this is, I was directed to a page that I know you don't operate, or let me make sure, let's get that on the record first. We have a page here that's mgtow.tv. You see that?
It's MGTOW.
Yes, I see it in the corner there.
Okay. You familiar with that abbreviation?
I'm not, no.
You ever heard of men going their own way?
No.
It's like an incel thing. I'm not sure if you know what incel is.
I'm familiar with the term incel.
Okay. This is men who are anti-feminist and separatist and that sort of thing. But I noticed that there is a Stephen Crowder account on this website.
So what is it? Why aren't you going after them? I don't understand. What does this have to do with Crowder whatsoever? So neo nasty and white supreme are interchangeable now. I guess so. I mean, that's what I'm gathering. So likes my comments. So so here I have to clock as a mod to approve all Bush's comments. Well, you can. Bush isn't doing anything wrong.
Site. Does that have anything to do with your company or you?
No.
Objection form.
Okay. You understand, as we were talking earlier, that people republish your stuff on the internet all the time.
Of course they can.
Yeah, and in fact, it's not actually the worst thing in the world for you, because that might direct people to your website to buy your stuff, things like that. There's some benefit to you from that. You would agree?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Now on your YouTube page.
I'd rather people not rip and upload our content.
Okay. On your YouTube page now, the videos, if you'll see here in the top middle, there's videos that have pictures of my client. You see what I'm referring to?
Yes.
Those videos no longer exist on the Stephen Crowder YouTube or Rumble pages, right?
No, because we pulled
Objection
them.
form.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And so part of the reason I'm showing you this is because here we have the 2 episodes that you had done on it in order, right? I think what you'll agree with me is that if you look at the top 2 middle videos, those are actually the same video. You agree? That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Those are the same video?
That's what it looks like to me. I haven't watched every minute of it, but they have basically the same time, same title.
You might
very
be
similar
informed.
thumbnail. I'm assuming that's the same episode. You didn't do 2 episodes about my client, right?
I couldn't answer my
Mary.
first time seeing it. One looks like a different time code from the other, actually. One,
Yeah.
125.10, 125.21. So I don't know. Again, I'm not familiar with this channel.
Yeah. Okay. But we do know that the next day we see
That's
at the
right,
top
GW.
left, it also has your next day episode, right? This one that was titled "Are Intelligence Agencies Involved in the Texas Mass Shooting?" You see that?
I see what you're showing me, yes.
Okay. So in the middle picture videos, we see that those episodes were the ones in which, or episode was the one in which you used an image of my client as the shooter, right?
It would appear so.
Now, the episode the next day, what you're showing there, that's a picture of the real shooter there with his Nazi tattoos, right?
To the best of my recollection.
All right.
Okay.
And once it became clear to you that there was images out there of this person with neo-Nazi tattoos, your next report was to say that intelligence agencies might be involved in this shooting, right?
Objection
This,
form.
this isn't his site.
I don't recall.
This is somebody else's website.
Have you watched the May 9th show recently, like in preparation for this deposition?
No, I haven't watched it.
Which makes sense.
Would you disagree with me that once all this came out about the shooter's pictures of the shooter's actual body, that once that happened, you started suggesting that this incident was some sort of psyop or psychological operation?
Objection form.
I don't believe that I don't recall referring to it as a psyop.
Okay. You have any idea why you thought intelligence agencies might be involved? Is that something you thought?
Well, and if I were Steven at this point, I would say this isn't that I didn't make these. This is somebody else's website. That's what I'd be telling him, that this is somebody else's website. He doesn't have the episode anymore, dingus. Yeah, well, that's true. That's very true. Ah,
I don't recall, but it wouldn't be surprising.
Explain that to me. It wouldn't be surprising for U.S. intelligence agencies to be involved in this neo-Nazi mass shooting. That's not surprising.
I would imagine that intelligence agencies would be involved with any type of mass shooting.
I would hope
require
so.
The use of intelligence.
oh,
Wait, you're meaning that what you're saying right now is you think intelligence agencies would be involved after the fact in some way, like investigating it?
yeah.
They
This,
could.
Objection form.
Could be.
That's not what this show is about, right? You understand that.
is it?
I don't recall. Is it something like the Hunter Biden laptop story?
I don't think so.
FBI reaching out to big tech,
Ooh,
talking with Russian discernment? Because I know we've talked about those where I don't remember this one though.
Let me see
That
if I can refresh your memory. You know what Bellingcat is, right?
Beg your pardon?
You know what Bellingcat? You know what that is?
Bedlam cat?
Bellingcat. BELINGCAT.
BEOING cat?
Let me try it this way. You know somebody discovered the social media profile of the shooter. You know that happened.
I don't recall.
Do you know where you got that picture of the swastika and the SS bolts?
Objection form.
I don't recall where the staff would have gotten that picture.
Does the name Arik Toller, a researcher from Bellingcat, does that ring a bell to you?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay.
yeah. I mean, this is
Do you remember on this May 9th show that you said there was some confusion over which was the real photo of the shooter?
I vaguely recall, I believe Gerald saying that, and I believe that was mentioned.
All right, let's make it clear. You have never told your audience that you showed an incorrect picture on your show.
Objection form.
Again, I don't recall. What you're saying sounds correct, that someone said there was confusion about the image. Right, but you know, one of the things that when I first reached out to you on behalf of my client that I asked, could you make a retraction and tell your audience that that was false?
Thank you.
And you've never done that, have you?
I don't believe I've ever communicated with you before today.
Well, I've certainly written you a letter.
I don't believe we've ever communicated, you and I, before today.
Huh, that's interesting. So
Have you,
yeah,
have you and I spoken before today?
we've never spoken, no.
Oh,
Have
No,
we emailed?
This whole odyssey began
Have we
when
emailed?
I wrote a letter on May 22nd, 2023, addressed to you and your company.
oh, that's
that-
special.
First informed you of all of this and then asked you to make a correction. Are you aware of that?
Objection form.
I'm just trying to, so You're saying that I responded to you directly? That you
I
and I
don't think you
communicated?
ever did. No, I don't think you ever responded to me.
Oh,
Okay.
amazing.
So I don't believe you and I have ever communicated before today.
Well, I mean, I would say sending you a letter makes it a communication. I would say that, yes. So what
I
I'm
don't
asking you is,
recall ever myself reading a letter from you. I don't.
okay. And so, in other words, not making a retraction, was that an intentional choice on your part?
Objection form.
No, because I don't recall anything that you're discussing. You sending me a letter. I don't recall that letter or that request being made from you. The only thing I recall is, again, my staff saying there was some confusion and that being addressed on the show.
Right. And part of that show was, in fact, to express your doubts that these images of the shooter with neo-Nazi tattoos were real, right?
But are they real?
I don't recall.
Are they real?
Okay.
Are they Memorex?
You understand that your incorrect coverage of the Allen shooting, it can really mess up people's sense of reality. You get that?
Objection form.
No.
All right. What can? When it comes to the decision to show this photo, you believe you did anything wrong to our client, Mauricio Garcia, who had nothing to do with this?
I do believe that reporting on the image, which was incorrect, was wrong. Yeah, that was a mistake.
No.
And you understand that calling someone, identifying someone as a neo-Nazi mass murderer when they're not, is a damaging thing to do to them.
Objection form.
Referring to someone who's clearly dead, known nationally, who was a white supremacist shooter, if it existed in a vacuum, sure, just accusing someone of being a neo-Nazi.
Okay. In deciding to show my client's photo, you did not act as carefully as you should have. Right?
I don't know the process that had taken place from the staff before it got to me, but no, there was a mistake made there.
Well, I mean,
And we do our best to, that's why the references are all made publicly available, because mistakes are often made. You have an admonish button on the show for when mistakes are made live. It's a very important component of the show.
I'm not sure if I know, though, whether you believe, whether you acted as carefully as you should have.
Yeah.
No, I
That's
told you
right.
Objection form.
a mistake was made. It was the wrong
So,
image. That's a mistake.
Yes. That's yes, you did not act as carefully as you should have.
Objection form.
The staff and whatever processes took place were not performed correctly, and a mistake was made.
And
And I
you're
regret-
you're responsible for making sure those processes are in place. It's your business, right?
Objection form.
I do my best. It's a company of around 30-something people. So
Are you saying that like it's a big company?
no, I'm saying that I can't be doing every job at all times. And we have practices or methods of approaching stories that usually do a very good job, actually, as far as the track record. And if they don't, the references are publicly available as a fail-safe because we believe in transparency. And, mistakes definitely can be made. In this case, the mistake was definitely made.
And
That's right.
you are the one responsible for creating and enforcing the policies and requirements for your talk show.
Objection form.
No,
He's correct.
I'm confused. If you don't think you have any responsibility,
No, that's not what he said. You asked him about policies being put in place. That's completely different. He's correct in what he's saying.
to run your business in a way that has policies in place to safeguard and guard against false information?
that's not what I said.
Well, so you are responsible for doing those things, for making sure that those policies are in place.
You said enforcing the policies.
Right, I would hope so, right? I mean, well, actually, that's an interesting thing you bring up. Was anybody fired for this?
Objection form.
I don't recall. I know there are people who no longer work with the company who worked in that department. I don't recall if it would have been this incident, but there's turnover with things like that all the time.
Well, but sitting here today, do you think you took any disciplinary action against anybody for this?
Objection form. Are you asking Stephen or Louder with Crowder?
I would assume that he would have to do it. I mean, he's Stephen Crowder of Louder with Crowder, right?
No, actually, I'm not in charge of hiring or terminating employees.
There you go.
Okay, do you have policies in place for that?
Objection form.
I believe there are policies in place for that, as far as hiring and terminating.
Okay. And pursuant to those policies of your company, was anybody fired or terminated or disciplined
I
in any way?
don't
for
know.
this?
Ask HR.
Again, I don't recall. I wouldn't have been the one terminating anybody.
All right. I remember you saying earlier that we take care to be as careful as possible.
Yeah, Gerald is the CEO.
But here, you weren't careful as possible, were you?
Objection form.
It seems that there was a breakdown in the process or communications where a mistake was made. So
You did not, before you got on your show, before you showed this image to the world, you did not investigate the truth or falsity of the photo before you showed it.
Objection form.
incorrect.
Well, from what I understand, you relied on the fact that it had been reported by a source you found suitable, right? You did no independent investigation of the photo yourself.
Myself personally,
Correct.
no. Members of the staff of the company were tasked with doing that. Obviously, did so in error.
And you would agree that this
It
photo
happens.
should have been investigated more fully before it was put on the air.
I would agree with that being the case if not reporting on someone else's reporting and pointing out to people the source of the reporting. That is something that we have to do very often.
I want to make sure I get this to make sure I understand this. It is your belief that if you have a media organization, Today News Africa, we'll call that a media organization for these purposes, right?
Okay.
You have this media organization
Mhm.
and you find them suitable, that is all the fact checking you need to do. And you can put the image that they say is a mass murderer on the air to your audience.
Objection
That's right.
form.
All those no.
Okay. So what else has to happen before you can do it?
Mhm.
Before you can do what?
Before you can put that picture out to people?
Again, if it's
You got, let me just start by, you got a website and it's saying, this is the shooter. No sourcing, just this is the shooter. And you got it on a website. And I guess you find that website suitable. Is that enough or what else has to happen before you can put that out to people?
no, again, it was saying according to this source, this is the shooter, and there were other, as I recall, other existing sources.
Yes.
So there just has to be some other existing source.
Objection form.
I'm just trying to get them all. So what we have is,
That would be a minimum that there would often have to be at least more than one place that is seen. It's not the only process.
so we have in an article, it's used in an article by someone purporting to be a media organization. And then if you see it somewhere else, then we're done. We can put it on the air. Nothing else needs to happen.
I didn't say nothing else needs to happen.
What else needs to happen?
Certainly, if this is something that is novel or new, you would have to cite the source and say according to them, which is very important, especially when there's original reporting that's not your own, only to give credit. Sometimes there are investigative journalists who are the only sources of information
Yes.
that exist. And you have to give them credit and say according to this person, because that's the information that you have available at the time.
All right, so now let's put that
Make it
on.
publicly available, and then make it publicly available.
So as long as you have a website that covers news that you find suitable, uses the image, and then you see it somewhere else, and as long as you say that you got it from the source you got it from, Today News Africa, that's all we need to do. Now we're done. We can put it on the air. right?
Objection form.
That's not what he's
Something
saying.
else. What else needs to happen?
It depends on the story.
Yeah.
What needed to happen here?
I couldn't tell you what needed to happen here at that moment in time.
That's a
Yeah.
shame because that is literally what I came to ask you about. But
Well, then why? Well, you took your sweet ass time getting there, asking that question.
I think that will call it a day for today. Thank you for your time, Mr. Crowder, and see you soon.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, there you go. There you go. You have Steven Crowder's deposition in the Allen shooting case. And the next time that we bring this one up, it won't be Steven Crowder that's on the hot seat. Oh, no. We'll have more. What damages is this guy going to claim? Well, and here's the thing. He already claimed damages, Eileen. He already claimed damages. He already received a settlement. That settlement happened outside of the courtroom. And he was compensated for whatever they deemed was necessary. We're not privy to those kinds of settlements. Whenever, and that's something that you have to remember whenever you're reporting some sort of story, that you have to cover the story. And sometimes you get it wrong, and you can retract those kinds of things. Not all the time, but a lot of times you can. And this is what got them in trouble. 55 minutes of gotcha questions that Crowder dodged until finally asked the real question. Exactly. We don't know how much the company gave the guy. Well, it wasn't just one. There was multiple companies that he got paid by. No different than whenever Trump sued CBS, NBC, CNN. There was a lot of things that they got wrong in a lot of his cases. So those kinds of things were brought out. And whenever they sued, they settled. Whenever they started calling people particular things. Yeah. So lawyer wants money. Lawyer wants money. His client wants money. He was harassed. He was given a hard time. Now, I will say that these depositions, I've got some wonderful people that I've been reaching out to that will probably end up come on, and we'll go through the depositions. We're going to make them into comedy gold is what we do. So be on the lookout for those whenever they come out. Oh, we've got more. Oh yeah, there is quite a bit more. Because this particular group of people that have been asking the questions also, now he's demanding more. Oh, well, that does happen. But usually once you get these kinds of cases settled, your chance of getting more, then you're just blowing your chance of getting that. Once you get paid, it's pretty much done and over with. And they say, see you, bye. We're moving on with our lives. And that usually will end those kinds of things. Yeah, forgot to put more zeros on that. But once it's been settled, it's done and over with. I mean, I guess if you want to, you can pretty much sue anybody, but your chances of receiving compensation, and this is, this sort of brought me back to the whole thing that's going on with the Hales. Originally, what Bubbles was looking to do was to get this case settled out of court, because if he gets it settled out of court, doesn't reflect poorly on his clients. He gets a payday. The whole thing gets dropped. Nobody's any to the wiser because it ends up being sealed away, and you don't know what the settlement was. You don't know the kinds of things that happen. But as you'll find out, Jeremy said, I'm not settling this because you've defamed me, you've destroyed my reputation, and I'm coming at you with the full extent of the law. But this is also to point out, this is how a deposition goes. Not always you're going to be able to answer every single question to everybody's liking. I like the Pink Bear. She did the Valentine's Day one. Flip was also great, but Flippy was also great, but always be nutty. Okay. He has to prove damages. Yeah. Well, not always. Not always. A lot of times, all you have to do is get somebody to agree that those damages are appropriate. And there also is a limit on what those damages can be, depending on jurisdiction, depending on location. It gets, you know, I'm not an attorney, and definitely not defamation attorney, but defamation can be one big hoop that you don't want to mess with. You don't want to be defaming people. It doesn't matter what your income level is. It doesn't matter what your socioeconomic background is. None of that matters. Whenever you defame somebody, that's against the law. That's not protected speech. That's called defamation. You have to remember that. You have to remember that at all times. If you're going to be out there defaming somebody and you're going to be talking crap about them, saying things that you know are not true, all you have to do is just look up the term of defamation. Then that comes down to malice. Was there malice involved? And you have to be able to prove those kinds of things. No different than if you get in different kinds of tort lawsuits like this. And there's a reason why these kinds of lawsuits make lots of money. And a lot of times why you'll see people like me that go LLC. So you don't have to worry about that, because I don't have anything to take in the LLC. Ray, he didn't know it wasn't true. And that's exactly what he was, the point that he made throughout this whole thing. It's like, I didn't know that it wasn't true. We had a reputable source that came in and they said X, Y, and Z. They showed the image. We said, according to them, what they're reporting, and here's the information. It wasn't like, I'm telling you this because I know this to be a fact. I'm guessing that the settlement was enough for the lawyer's time. If not, it would have gone to trial. Yeah, most likely it was probably a pretty sweet settlement. I would say that it was enough that they said, okay, we've got what we wanted out of it. Defamation means he knows it isn't true and is intentionally trying to destroy the guy's life. Thank you, Boosh. That is very, very proper in the way that you put that. Better than I could have. Better than I could have. I'm a slack ass when it comes to these kinds of things. There's a bit of inspiration to your PFP, but it was done by a gal back in the day of her suicide prevention charity event. Since then, her health made it impossible for her to change. Oh, sorry to hear. Concise. Yeah. We try to be as accurate as possible whenever we report on any sort of story. We're talking about him. The problem is that a lot of times you'll run into journalists, and this is not an uncommon thing to see, where they don't want to look at other parts of it. They have a narrative to make, and that falls into this realm of, I have this narrative that I want to talk about, and that can really backfire on you really bad. You have to be cautious with those. Be very cautious with those. Anyhow, so what we've got going on tonight is I've got to get this thing set up for another stream a little bit later on tomorrow morning. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire off all you wonderful people, send you over there to go give MG Law a little bit of love. I may join him for just a little bit, and give him some love. He's good people. And yeah, off to MG Law. Exactly. So that's where I'm going to be sending all you fine people. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up on the way in, on the way out, and definitely have a good night, because tomorrow morning is going to be a whole new day, and we've got some good stuff for you tomorrow. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Oh, you thought I was done, bless your heart, but I'm still living rent-free, it's a work of art. Call me daddy, call me nut, call me the goat. You're paddling up upstream while I'm running this boat. You say, I don't care, yet you're glued to the screen. Caught up in my glow while you stay unseen. Your shade's like a breeze, it's barely a draft. Meanwhile, I'm the Picasso of roasting your ass. You say you're over me, oh how cute. But here I am, still the star of your loop. You're my biggest fans, don't even deny. So grab some popcorn when daddy goes live. Call me daddy, yeah, shout it loud. King of your thoughts, I'm making you proud. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy, headline act. Your background noise, and that's just a fact. Let's face the score. You hate that you love me, but you keep wanting more. You're like a dog chasing cars, you don't know why. But here you are, barking while I touch the sky. Your comments are gold, such comedy gold. Who hurt you? Oh wait, it's me, I'm told. You're keeping tabs like an unpaid intern while I'm cashing checks. When will you learn? Your timeline's a shrine to every move I make. I'd say thanks, but you're a nasty skank. Oh, Shizzy's washed up. Yeah, sure, Jan, yet here I am, the centerpiece of your plan. You hate watch my stream like it's Oscar night, but guess what, kiddos? I'm still shining bright. Call me daddy. Send in your bread. I'm still rent-free in your effing head. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy on your brain. I'm your mental landlord, you can't complain. Let's keep it real. You hate that I'm winning, but you love how it feels. Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your streak? You tried to ignore me for like half a week, but daddy's too spicy, you can't look away. I'm the train wreck you need every single day. So while you're out there with your plastic clout, I'm here sipping coffee watching you freak out. You're irrelevant, wow, what a take. Now go rewatch my vids while I count how much I make. I count how much I make. Call me daddy, yeah, own it now. I'm reading your brain and you don't know how. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy, let's at the bar. I'm the constellation, you're a burned out star. Embrace your role, cause I'm the main character. You're just an old ragged ass, burned out troll. So that's your bedtime story, kids tucked in sweet and snug. Shizzy Daddy's forever, you lose and you're stuck in the mud. Now say goodnight to Papa Nut, your mental pain. Oh wait, you will see me tomorrow's. Agenda will see me tomorrow, same obsession, same effing thing.